Hey, what's up? Sean here, and you're probably wondering, how are these lenses moving right now? This cool mechanical lens effect is something that we see in the live-action MCU Spider-Man, and I was able to make these mechanical lenses using just simple materials like rubber bands and magnets. In fact, this whole mask was made by hand using easy everyday materials that don't break the bank, so that you guys can follow this video and build your own functional Spider-Man mask at home. By the way, we recently hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel, so I just wanted to thank you all very much for your support, and thank you guys for being a part of this YouTube journey with me. I really appreciate you. In the description box below, you'll find all the templates that I used for this project, as well as a complete list of materials I used as well. First things first, I found a free Spider-Man mask template on dalilomo.blogspot.com, which I'll link in the description box below, and you'll need to open this template in Adobe Reader so that when you print it out, it actually splits up into multiple pages. And that way you'll have yourself a full-scale template that you can cut up and then tape together. I'll leave a link in the description as well to Adobe Reader, which is free to download for anyone and very helpful when trying to print out large templates like this. Once I had my template all cut out and connected together, I transferred all of the pieces to this thin poster board cardboard, which is basically the same material as cereal box, so you could even use cereal box for this, I assume. Now we can set aside the template and fold and glue the pieces together until we get the shape of the mask to start forming. I used super glue to glue all the edges together, which isn't really optimal because it takes forever to dry, but I wanted the inside of the mask to be as flat as possible for the mechanical lenses. Now after I put that entire mask together using those pre-existing templates, I found that the eye holes were a little bit too big, so I had to create my own additional pieces to modify it and get it exactly the way I wanted it. Now I used wood filler to contour the mask and make it less angly and have all those ugly, sharp edges. So the wood filler here is really honestly the star of the show, and it's what's going to step this mask up a notch and allow it to have that really buttery, smooth, rounded look. I'm not gonna lie, this step literally takes forever, but it's totally 100% worth it, and you'll need to do multiple layers of the wood filler until you get it nice and round. But trust me, wood filler is actually really easy and forgiving to work with, so it's a pretty relaxing process just to fill and sand it. This is kind of optional, but I recommend spraying the mask with spray adhesive, and that way it leaves behind this sticky, sort of grippy texture, and that will make it easier to eliminate wrinkles later because the fabric won't want to slip and slide all over the place. Before we can make the mechanical lens mechanism, we just need to temporarily tape on these lens frames here so that we have a point of reference when we go to position the lenses at a certain angle. I cut the mechanical lenses out of a plastic duotang since they will be moving around a lot and the rubber bands will be constantly tugging on them and whatnot, so this material will work well for that because it's quite durable. Once all 4 lenses are inserted, you can see here that they'll basically be swiveling on that push pin. At this point, I went ahead and attached some fishing line to the bottom lens using some super glue and masking tape. So as you can see, the fishing line starts on the bottom lens, passes through a series of tubes here, then gets glued onto the top lens, and then goes through another tube down here. By the way, these 3 tubes were taken from an empty ballpoint pen ink tube, but there's obviously a lot of other things you could use here. Now I added masking tape in front of all of the lenses because the glue on the inside of the mask is kind of jaggedy and might cause the lenses to get stuck. The lenses were kind of popping up as you can see here, so I simply added these 4 pieces to push the lens up against the front of the mask more. To make the lenses retractable, I used a combination of magnets and rubber bands, and this is the left side as you can see, so I'll demonstrate how to do this on the right side. First we add the magnets, and before I could glue the magnet onto the lens, I had to glue a piece of masking tape on top, then glue a piece of paper on top of that because the magnet doesn't adhere very well to the plastic. So just a quick tip for you there. Now we can glue on this small piece of cardboard for the rubber band. Now if you try to attach the rubber band right away, it will eventually slip off, so an easy fix for that is just to add these little cardboard bars here to hold down the rubber band. And that should do the trick. for extra comfort, I added these sponge cushions, and the sponges also help to offset your face from the front of the mask just a little bit so that there's room for the mechanical lenses. Next, I'm going to make a mouthpiece that's going to allow you to control the movement of the eyes by opening and closing your mouth. If you're curious how I'm actually able to control the movement of the eyes while wearing a mask, then this is the part you're going to want to watch because it will answer all of your questions. So make sure you watch this part of the video before you ask questions about the mechanism because there's a good chance this part will answer them. So the basic idea here is you have these two arms, one of which can swivel up and down, and they both have magnets on them that connect to each other. So we can use some duct tape to secure those in place. And now I glue on this additional popsicle stick piece right here, which is basically a piece that will allow you to open back up the lenses on command, but more on that later. Now I retrieved that piece of the binder clip that we initially got rid of and glued it onto the popsicle stick right there. And finally there's this one last piece right here that gets glued on like so. Alright, well now I can show you how to control the mask. So basically you open your mouth to open the lenses, then you use your bottom teeth to kind of pry it back up and make the lenses open. So here it is one more time in slow motion. There you can see I use my bottom teeth to kind of push that back up. Kind of weird, I know, but this is the best way I found how to do it. So there's that. Once that mouthpiece was complete, I glued it to the bottom of the mask, of course, and this bottom piece here was kind of flimsy, as you can see, so I added an extra piece there to kind of make it more sturdy. Now we can attach the fishing line to the mouthpiece, and that will allow the motion of the mouthpiece to transfer to the lenses. Notice how I added that green rubber band in the back there, and that helps to make the mouthpiece spring back in place. One more thing we need to do to complete this mechanism is add magnets in the back there. And what that will do is allow the lenses to open back up all the way. I found that without the magnets, sometimes the lenses can get jammed and just not open up all the way. So with the magnets, it really helps to kind of give the mouthpiece that extra little nudge that it needs to open the lenses back up all the way. Now let's move on to making the whites of the eyes, and for that I decided to use perforated vinyl, which is a material that people use on windows and like car windows, and it's sort of like this one-way mesh sticky back material, so it's very convenient for making Spider-Man masks, but not really necessary because there are obviously other mesh alternatives that you can use, of course, so just keep that in mind. As you can tell, I stuck that black sticky side to a thin piece of clear plastic, and that worked pretty well. Now that the mechanical lens part is done, we can get rid of these lens frames here, which were only meant to be temporary. Alright, well now it's time to move on to the fabric part of the mask, and for that I used the fabric from this old sweater that I got at a thrift store for really cheap, and I tried my best to find something that somewhat resembled the color and texture using reference photos. Now I owe a huge thank you to a guy by the name of Brian Alzate, who I got the template from for the fabric mask. He made a full tutorial on his YouTube channel on how to make this, which I'll link below, but I printed his templates at 110% scale, since his mask was made to fit over a bare head, but we're trying to fit this over a face shell, so we'll need it to be a bit bigger. I will leave a link in the description below to this template, of course, so that you can download and print it out yourself. If you're going to make this mask, make sure you watch Brian's video, which should help a lot. The video is in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but I even still understood it very clearly. It's a very good, easy to follow, comprehensive video. So thank you to Brian. This just would have been so much harder if I tried to do this myself, especially those black lines from the puffy paint for the webbing. That just would have been an absolute nightmare for me, so big shout out to Brian. This made my life so much easier. On the back of the fabric mask, as you can see there, I marked out the outer edges so that I knew where exactly to sew. And before you sew it, you need to really make sure that those points match up there. So make sure you're watching out for that. Notice I left a little bit of the neck part here unsewed, and that way it's easier to slide over the mask and also easier to slide your head inside too. And you can always just tuck that loose flap into your shirt, so it's not really a big deal. At this point, I cut out the eye holes, and take your time with this so that you know for sure that the fabric is positioned correctly before making any cuts. So you really just want to kind of go slow here. And I attached the fabric to the mask using duct tape and super glue. Try not to use a lot of super glue when you attach it because it'll really easily soak through. You just want to use really light layers. Also, I went back here and just fixed up some of the paint that didn't exactly line up. Okay, so let's now make the lens frames of the mask, which is the last part of the build. So here's what the template looks like for that. You take piece number 1, put it where 1 is 2, 2, 3, and 3. So I try to make it as straightforward as possible. So for example, here's piece number 12, which you can see lines up perfectly right there. And really important thing to mention is make sure that when you glue pieces 1 to 12 onto this frame that you flip it around first, because everything on this one will be mirrored. So keep that in mind. So what you gotta do here is you first roughly cut out the lens frame, which has all the number placements on it, and then you'll want to glue that onto a piece of poster board using white glue. Once that dries, go ahead and cut it out. And now you can go ahead and glue all those individual pieces. Make sure you cut those out of poster board, obviously. And those black spaces on the template represent where the pieces overlap, because as you can see, there's a lot of overlap happening here. So yeah, go ahead and paint that black, and yeah, that's it. Yep.
Would you like me to engage in enhanced combat mode?
Enhanced combat mode? Yeah.
Activating instant kill.
No, I don't kill anybody.
Deactivating instant kill.
Hey man, what's up? I'm on my way back. Actually, I was calling to say maybe you shouldn't come because of this.
When I say penis, you say bunker! Penis bunker!
Sorry, Peter. I guess we're still losers. I'll see you tomorrow.
I'll see you on school.
Well hey, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you click or tap the screen to check out my previous video, which was a functional PS4 web shooter that shoots. Thank you very much to my patrons Alexander Samosky, Ben T. Matchstick, Carlton R. Powers, Girish Apana, Max Trax, Tanya Davies, and William Christensen.